Listo, ok. Vamos a ponerlo en el tripod que también sirve para poner tu iPad. Y vamos a por fin ya empezar este video. Buenos días, internet, ¿cómo están todos? Espero que todos estén bien. Lo compré como hace 2 horas. Wait a minute, I'm making this video in English. I bought this about 2 hours ago, and good morning internet. I apologize. I bought about 2 hours ago when I was watering. I wanted to do a little set design because yesterday I got quite a few comments, so thanks. I mean, I know. You know what? They're comments. And at the end of the day, there's 2 things that I learned in one of my first jobs, and that was when I was working concurrently with a second job, which reminded me a lot of one of the comments that one of the persons said, that they work 84 hours a week or something like that. They make the schedule. I was exactly like that when I was 22, except a couple different things. It wasn't just one job, it was 2 jobs. I had a full-time job. It was the coveted hours, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And then the second job, I was an independent worker, but I did start my own company. It was called THIS, and then that's it. You know, it was an acronym. You know, period between. You know, never had the chance to get it incorporated, but it did not do too bad. So because of that, I was able to, like, the person who left the comment, and she was I think she told me like her salary, or at least like how to get to it. Something about $15 commission, 84 hours. I didn't do the math because honestly I don't care. Money is just, you know, after you make a certain amount of money, it's not going to make you any happier. And that actually, it used to be, before this hyperinflation, it used to be around $80,000. So if one individual in the household made $80,000, they could possibly support a whole family, as long as the person who does the budget knows what they're doing, and they live, you know, they don't buy things that they don't need. You know, and also their values are set in the things that matter. Because the problem, this was a gift. Papa Alex gave me this to me, along with that hat up there that you see that says Roma. Yeah, Papa Alex gave me that. This right here, this was a gift from this princess right here. This right here. Along with this hat that I'm wearing. Almost a half of the things I have are gifts, just about. Okay? And getting back to my train of thought, talking about, I had the 2 jobs, very similar. I set my own schedule on my second job because, you know, obviously it was, you know, I was self-employed. It was like a independent contractor, you know, and my only rule was every Sunday I would turn off my phone just to, like, you know, observe the Sabbath. Even though, you know, I never really went to service, but I just felt like it was the right thing to do. And it went well for a really long time, really long time. And by the time I was 22, like, you know, the person said, you know, this went very well. I was also working a lot of hours, you know, like 2 full-time jobs. My, you know, parents, if they saw me for like 2 seconds, you know, that was a lot. But I was making money. I had in the year 2002 or 2003, I had like it was a 2-year-old model of Lexus. It was the ES. It wasn't no big deal. It was just the ES. But still, I got a little Lexus from County Line. They closed down. They closed down their shop now. Um, I spent quality time with my dad, which was good. We went to get our endorsements so we could learn how to ride motorcycles. And I was so excited that right afterwards I bought the first motorcycle I was able to get, which I should have waited because it ended up being a 500 cubic centimeter engine, and I wasn't aware of the difference between a 500 and 600. So I would have just waited, got a 600, could have been doing a buck 60. Instead, I think I topped out at 120, 130. I don't remember. But either way, I'm gonna get to in a minute how what happened, because I was working a lot, you know, and the individual who left me the comment saying they work 84 hours, that's a lot. That's 2 full-time jobs. But they enjoy it, so that, you know, so it's not really like they're working, you know, it's like they're just hanging out. It's like working at a comic shop. You know, you get to read comics all day, you know, maybe smoke a doobie in the back, depending on which state you live. And then, you know, and the customers that you help, for the most part, they're all chill, you know, unless, you know, maybe you have some kids that want to be rude. But then that's when you gotta, you know, just kind of like, you know, tell them to, you know, there's the door, you know. And, everything I was doing, I actually text my, my in-law. I told her all the things, you know, a couple of things that I did. I used to spend money on money. I used to spend money on food, but I don't mean like food like going out and eating. I mean like there was a time when I wanted to be a nutritionist, so I learned as much as I could about, you know, like what kind of foods to eat for this, what kind of foods to eat for that. I learned everything about, you know, like the 4 main things to construct meals, which are like the lipids, the carbohydrates, and the proteins. And then you got your vitamins, you got your minerals. Depending on if you have a health condition, they can put you on different diets. Because certain products you should avoid. Like if you have the type of diabetes that if you eat anything with sugar, it makes your blood sugar go up, or makes you produce too much insulin. I don't know exactly how it works. You should eat like stuff that the sugar breaks down slowly. Like for instance, whole wheat bread. Whole wheat bread is, unlike white, whole wheat bread was not processed, and it wasn't all the nutrients, minerals weren't taken out of it, and then it wasn't enriched afterwards after it was turned white, so that we could still have nutrients and minerals for, you know, whoever buying it, they can see that, oh, this is healthy. But really the healthy choice would be the whole wheat bread. You know, they got the whole wheat salad, vegetables, all those things. There's something called, like, I forget what it's called, but it's like, depending on the type of sugar that you consume, that will have an effect on how it will affect your insulin level, not insulin levels, but like your blood sugar levels. And then if you eat something that's like a good carb, you'll feel full for longer, and it usually always has more fiber, which is good for your health, and whatever. Because I was a little dumb, I used to read a lot of magazines, but one thing about magazines only exist because of the adverts, you know, the campaigning. So who does the most campaigning in all those muscle magazines? The protein powders. So they tell you need like a gram of protein per day. No, you don't. You need like maybe 1 per kilogram a day. So that's 1 for every like 2.2 pounds, if I remember correctly. I read a book about it. And also, your diet shouldn't change to the point where you're like a carnivorous person. No, the main thing you should always eat is like, let's say 60% carbs, about 30% protein, and then like 35% protein, and then 5 to 10% lipids or fats, you know. and there's also the healthy fats. Like my queen, she loves to eat peanut butter. You know, heaven willing, she eats it in a reasonable amount because another thing too, and remember this, you know, YouTubers, and analyze it, think about it. Like I always told my audience in the past, everything you see on the screen, you have to think, you have to look at it, and you have to, you know, try to figure out, you know, is that a credible source? Is that something that was just like now they have deep fake? If they didn't have the deep fakes, you know, all those things. You got to be critical. And you got to analyze what you see. You really cannot trust anything you see on the screen. That's why yesterday I made a video where I was telling the person who put on the show, which that's in the past, letting them rest. Because today school was canceled today as well for Broward County Public Schools. The other schools, I'm not sure. And anything, if you consume too much of it, even if it's a good thing, it can be bad for you. Water can kill you. If you drink too much water in a short amount of time, you'll die. Like that one lady who a radio station was having a contest, who can wee the most for a wee, or who can hold their wee the longest for a wee. This was when Nintendo Wii came out. So they had people drink large, huge amounts of water. They must have drank maybe a couple gallons in like 10 minutes or 20 minutes. I don't know how long. And that actually caused the pH levels in the person's body to become I forget which side of the table, but I guess not acidic enough, and they died. I guess the blood that went across their blood-brain barrier didn't have the right amount of acidity, and it's essentially maybe only pure oxygen, which can also be harmful, you know, or not pure oxygen. I think ozone is the one that they said could be a harmful gas, which I don't understand how, because it's just 3 atoms of oxygen just, you know, put together in what is it? No, not isotope. I forget the name. I haven't been in school for so long, but I remember in a molecule. Yeah, when the atoms get together, they form a molecule. That's what it was. Alright, I did remember one thing. Okay. Anyways, I was making decent money. Those were like the 3 main things I spent it on. You know, just toys and the lesson with Dad. I had some things I planned for the future. I wanted Dad and I to take scuba diving lessons together, but we never ended up doing that. And I wanted to do that so then I could eventually buy a Rolex, the Submariner, which is a Rolex I've always wanted. My buddy, who I actually worked with him a couple times, he got himself the Presidential because he said his godfather or whatever always wore it, so you know it's almost like a family heritage. And I just wanted a Submariner. I would have been happy with that, but I would not have felt like I should have really owned it unless I really scuba dive, because that's the whole idea of it. I used to buy jewelry. I've lost so much and gotten stolen so much jewelry through my life that's why I don't wear anything anymore. After a certain time, after I don't know how many thousands of dollars I spent, I said, no more. The only next piece of jewelry I'm gonna buy is a watch, and that watch is gonna be a Rolex. That's what I told myself. I mean, it could be something different maybe, but that's the only piece of jewelry I really want. A buddy of mine did get me a watch, but I just don't like how it feels on the wrist. And that buddy of mine is essentially going to become one of my friends from afar now, because he's a con addict. Those weren't my words. Those were the words of a wise person. of a great person, I'll say. She's wonderful. And I said, yeah, no, I know he is. And I already knew he was gonna do what he was gonna do, because the day before I had let him borrow a few dollars because he needed money, because he had to go see a doctor and he had a co-payment. So I said, okay, well, go see the doctor, and then he wanted to do something, get something else. But if he got that something else, he still needed something. I forget what it was. I don't know if it was something for the apartment or something. And then he was never going to come back to see me. And he was going to come back and he was going to take me out and, pay me back my money that he owed me. And he never did. So, but it's alright. That's the second time this year. Third time that I can remember. Might have happened when we were teenagers. I don't remember back then. I don't think it happened when we were teenagers, but we used to do a lot of crazy stuff like that. I think he might have used me as an scapegoat with his girl, because we were friends. Because essentially, at the end of the day, being a friend is just someone you're friendly to, and you feel with respect. And I called her about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I said, hey, I want to meet the babies. Anyway, you can come by, whatever. She's like, yeah, I can come by this Wednesday. And then since my buddy sold me out, and I'm tight for cash right now. I have to pay just right now my daughter's field trip. I have to give more money to mom because I got my doctor's appointment in less than 2 weeks, which I have no insurance. Yesterday, I don't want to really cook for the princess, so I bought her, like her breakfast at McDonald's, and I think I was able to get her to eat in the house later on, so that worked out. I don't think I got her anything else, at least not that I ever know. I don't think so. What else? So, but now I'm left with like $19. So that's food for the princess for today, but it's got to be something that's $9 or less. Which nowadays, like for instance, the other day she wanted a Big Mac. The Big Mac with a fry and the frappe that she wanted came out to like $12. I mean, it might seem normal to the young kids that are watching, because you guys are just learning. You don't know anything. You have no prior knowledge of like, you learn about history through school, and also the history you learn can also be biased. Think about that, because essentially, I think for the norm has always been that the victor is the one who writes history. And there's been people in history that they were with so much anger against like their opponents or their rivals, that they would erase all images of those people, so that that person would have never like existed. Because you have to remember, there was a time when we didn't have photograph. It wasn't until like the 1830s, I think, give or take, that they finally made the first like piece of paper where you can like allow light to hit it, and then you can process it and you get a thing, but you have to stand still. I think it was called La Fourier or something. I don't remember the name. And it was some French guy, I think. So people didn't really before like the 1830s, give or take, people had to sit still, and somebody would have to paint them. And same thing before the printing press. There used to be people that were known as scribes, and what they would do is they would take a book, and let's say the king or the queen of wherever land it was that you lived said, I want a copy of this book. You would have to sit down and you would have to copy that book word for word, punctuation for punctuation, and everything exactly as is. If you made a single mistake, you have to start all over again. That's why sometimes some stories with time, like for instance, like the word, it's been translated so many times that the original translation, heaven knows like what it exactly says. But a lot of the things that it does say, they do feel right. So if it feels right, then you're probably okay. You gotta go with your gut. You gotta go with your feelings sometimes, and yeah. So yeah, yesterday was a terrible day. Like I was saying, I got brain F really good. I offended first my queen, and because the other day she thought I made a video about her, which, okay, let's say it was a video about her. I didn't mention any names, but I messed up in one part. I used a pronoun instead of saying they. I said she. So I said, okay, I'll take it off, and I took it off. And after that, I'm being careful. Like if I ever tell a story about an action that somebody did, I'm not gonna. I try to keep people's names out of my mouth at all times. Yesterday, they were saying like, "Oh, how could you say that?" I was merely responding because since I don't have a lot of, I don't have a big community in this platform with this program called YouTube. I try to, respond to every comment that I get because I truly appreciate it. I truly appreciate that you watch, and if you have the capacity to listen, because nowadays not a lot of people can listen for a long period of time. Back when let's just say Abraham Lincoln was president, presidential speech could have been like 3 hours long, and the crowd would just sit there, and that would be their source of entertainment for the day. There used to be people that like they were like storytellers that would come and just tell stories. The stories could last up to a couple hours or something, like you're watching a movie, but it's just somebody just acting out a story, and that that was another source of entertainment. So a lot of things have changed, after the, most after the industrial age. That's what led way into where we are today. Because of the industrial age, a lot of progress was made, with the steam engine. The locomotive was a big one. Then now you can transport goods in half the time. So many things. When the United States helped Panama separate itself from Colombia, and then they said, "Oh, we want to build a canal. We're going to own it for 100 years." And then after that, we'll use our military to keep care of it for you. That saved an extra like 2 weeks from going to California to going to the East Coast, because back then here in this country, there was really no roads that led out to California until they finally did build the one highway. But it was like the hills, like the Rocky Hills. I think that's part of the it's a chain of mountains. That's the Andes Mountains. They start all the way up north and they go all the way to Central America. I don't know if they go through Central America. Maybe they do, but under the ocean, and then they go through South America. That's why the country of Peru is so high up in altitude, and I think Chile also is. But I want to go visit Peru. I've always wanted to visit Peru. My top South American countries I want to visit: Uruguay, Peru, and that's it. And in Central America, I wanted to go to Nicaragua, and I would like to go to Mexico. I mean, it's a little bit dangerous with all the cartels and whatnot, but as long as you don't go, like Chris Rock said in his specials, which I also referred people to yesterday, whenever he gets to a city, he always asks, what are the spots where I should not go to? And this is his first question. And his second question is, where are the spots where I can get some coke? And then he says, and they usually end up being the same place. I can't really tell jokes, but anyways, yeah, so back to the story that I was originally telling, which I completely got sidetracked, and I always do that, so I apologize. Yeah, so like this young person who sent the comment, uh, they're doing great. You know, they set their schedule. They, you know, they're making. I mean, it's a lot of hours, but they enjoy it. So essentially, the amount of hours is meaningless. Because if you enjoy it, you know, you want to be there. So it doesn't matter if you're there all day long at that. You know, it's like you're home. You know, you're just chilling, relaxing. So that's good. That's great. And and I never really was like that. I mean, like as far as making money. Actually, as a matter of fact, in the business that I had started, I needed a gimmick. It was I was in sales, and I didn't know how to start it because one, I didn't have a lot. I didn't have anything to campaign, so everything had to be from for word of mouth. So what I did was I looked at the competition. I looked at the what I'm paying, you know, like from the suppliers, and I did a little bit of math, and I said, okay, look, this is gonna be my gimmick. I'm gonna offer, let's say they want to get like 20 pounds of sugar or like a pallet of this, you know, it was like a wholesaler or a distributor or something, right? And instead of giving them this much of a discount, which is the norm, I'm gonna give them an extra discount. So it's gonna be the same product that they get somewhere else for more, but for less money. And sure enough, it grew quickly. And after a while, I didn't even have to do any campaigning. It was just all word of mouth. And at my first job, I worked so hard and I was such a good worker because remember, I was like 30, 40 years younger back then, that the gentleman who had hired me for that job, when I told him, I'm like, hey, I'm going to Colombia for 3 months. He's like, okay, I'll see you when you come back. That was it. And then the other job, you know, when you're dealing with sales and customers, you have to have you have to be the type of person to build trust and confidence, which is exactly what I strive for with all the people that I interacted with. And sure enough, when I would come back, I would just start making a couple phone calls, and bam, you know, back to being busy, back to business. So what I was doing from between 2003 2010, it would be like I'd come home for 3-4 months, I'd go to Colombia for 3-4 months. In the beginning, it was just because this is exactly what happened. I'm going to tell you now. This is where I'm getting to the plot, to like the climax of this whole video, I guess you could say. I was doing well, not well enough to. I mean, I had saved up like $5,000 when I got my Lexus, and I did, you know, I bought the bike out cash, whatever, you know. But if I was smart, I would have, instead of doing all that, I would have just saved all of my money, and then I would have tried to get like a loan from the bank. But then that means I would have had to incorporate my company. That's another reason I think I was able to get a discount, because if I would have had to incorporate it, and I shouldn't even be saying about this in a YouTube video, I'm probably gonna get audited. But anyways, I wasn't making that much. So, yeah, when I was in Colombia, it was an experience like I've never had before. I imagine there's places here in the States that are like that too, maybe in the country, but not really, because in Colombia it was a city, hustling, bustling, and it's European style, which means that, you know, you have your little town center, you have your cathedral, and everything is, you know, you can pretty much, if you walk a couple blocks, you already pass a couple stores, or, you know, a couple places to get coffee, you know, it's not like here in the States. The only cities here in the States that are not centered around the car are the cities that were built before the car, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, are New York City, Boston, and Washington, D.C. And then that's it. Every other single city here in the States is based around a car. And, you know, our culture considers that progress. But I have a different opinion. It's just my opinion. I consider it more like it's a progress with like a double-edged sword. Because look at what happens now. People have to commute to and from work, some for hours every day, just stuck in traffic, which is proven to worsen your health. It's bad for your health. Since you're driving, you're not walking as much, so you're not getting anywhere near the same amount of exercise as you would if you have to walk everywhere, which is one of the reasons why me being financially poor, I can be so rich in life because I don't even have to try. And I do have to try. Doing chores it's like that Mary Poppins song. It's a spoonful of sugar. You gotta try to make the best of it. If you start getting tedious, maybe sing a song or something. Because day in, day out, doing the same things, it does get tedious. It's a job. Being a homemaker and doing it right is a job. Like I was saying the other day in the video where I was giving advice, and that was it. Definitely, I don't want to get into that. That if you're a homemaker and you want to keep your home, a home, not just a house. A real homemaker makes a home. Somebody who just stays home and plays video games, you're going back to the house. That's what it is. It's not a home. Okay, that's the difference. Just like I said, if you have a house rule or house rules, having them it's not going to make your house a home. Following them will. And we only have 2 rules here in the house. One is how you find it, is how you leave it. So in other words, that's to try to keep tidy and to try to always remember that, clean up after yourself. If you found something clean, try to put it back clean if you can. I'm mostly tasked with that job, mostly because of there is a cultural difference which was never, I think I've never spoken to my queen about it. If she watches this, maybe she'll understand. Where we come from is utilities are not like how they are here. And even here, when it's, unless you're an affluent person or whatever, it's still better, or unless your utilities are included, you should still strive to save as much money as possible, unless you just want to spend $300, $400, $500 a month on utilities. That's up to everybody. Everybody can do whatever they want. But so I was told, do the things that have to be done because, we can't afford to have somebody that when they cook, to get something hot, they just automatically put it up on the highest, or when they need an ingredient, they go into our refrigerator with the things that we buy, because especially now with the price of food and the way things are costing. So, because I thought, I'm like, oh, maybe, if so-and-so got more involved, it would be a good thing, but I was told no. So, but yeah, I went to Colombia And the people there obviously do not have anywhere near as much as what we have here. You see, I did a little set today. You know, I thought it would be nice. You know, so just some of the few things I own. I don't own that much. Half of them were given to me. Some I may have found. The only things I really bought, I'm going to show you right now. The only things I really bought, those shirts right there, I used to use for work when I was working doing delivering bread. I may have bought that Barcelona kit because it was on sale, and you know that's when I was a big fan of Barcelona. I bought the T-shirt for the Princess of School to show support, and that uniform, the Colombian soccer jersey, gift, Brazilian soccer jersey, gift, Rick and Morty t-shirt with only Rick and Morty going through the portal, gift. This one I did buy. This was an official Rick and Morty product. I did buy this one. The other one was, someone let me have it. I have the coffee cup. This right here, gift, like I just said, from the princess. This book bag I did buy. That was like when I was working. That's another thing I used to spend money on eBay. I was mostly eBay. That's why I have my PayPal account is so old. I used to get everything. Like I used to love vintage things. Like for instance, this item right here, made in USA. You know, good luck finding things that. Pretty soon we might have more things made in the USA with the way things are going, or if not made in Mexico at the least. And yeah, if you can see that red shirt over there, the New Balance junior shirt, gift. That hat that says Roma, that was bought in Italy, that's a gift. That the cap, that's a 5950 Miami Heat cap, gift. This I did buy because this is a special jersey, like I said in one of my videos, commemorating Camp Nou, which is where they play. So that I bought on eBay. And there's so many things I bought on eBay that through the years I just lost, or you know, whatever. I had a 1909 penny with the engraving of there's a rare 1909 penny that by accident the person who made the new design, because before 1909 it did not have Lincoln's face on it. It had, I think, like an Indian or a native or something like that. And 1909 was commemorating, I believe, 50 years that passed that he died. That's why they put him on the 1 cent bill. I mean, on the penny. And anyway, so going back to the people in Colombia, they don't have much. I had a lot of family there. I mean, now, I'm sure if they've grown. I don't know how many stayed in Barranquilla. I know I had a cousin. Once he got employed, he moved to Bogota. I was able to visit him once. My aunt, Emilia, Santa Luisa, you know, and my grandpa, Pepe, you know, gone. You know, may they all rest in peace. And you know, and then the number one person, you know, mi Abuelita Carmen, next month is going to be 2 years that she's been passed because of you think it was COVID. My cousin. Oh, that's another thing. I paid for my cousin to go to school too. She went to technical school. I told her wherever she wanted to go. I mean, as long as I could afford it. But she did choose something she actually liked, and I could afford it. So because that, I mean, I wasn't making enough money to pay for university. I mean, I was only making maybe like, I don't remember. I never kept track. I think I kept track for 1 week, and then after that, I was like, I'm not gonna hold ledger because since, like I said, it was never incorporated. I shouldn't even be saying this stuff. But nonetheless, my channel kind of big. But if the IRS were given a bigger budget from the United States government, they would actually be able to say, hey, all these social media platforms. Oh my goodness, that's oh, you're coming in? I'm making a video. They close the door behind you, you're gonna come in. I'm sorry to yell. Yeah, the other day I saw a story, I don't know if it's true, but the IRS, it's easier for them to audit people who are low income earners than it is for them to audit people who actually make real money, because they don't have the manpower and they don't have the resources to go after people like that, because people like that, they can hire lawyers, they can, do this, they can do that. So we essentially are losing money. Like, for instance, I'm gonna get back to the topic in Colombia, but I jab my flap all the time. When Bill Clinton was president, he's only known for one thing in his whole presidency. But the one thing that he should be remembered for was that when he became president, the deficit was at, I think, 360 million, I think. When he left office, we were in a surplus, okay? Because of the way he, his economic strategy that he did. So, people don't remember that, but that actually gives the United States essentially more economic power. It would, right now, as it is, allegedly, according to what I saw the other day, 6 countries are no longer trading using the dollar. They're not even accepting it to trade. They're using their own currency. Some are well known. One is because they just elected a nationalist leader, and the other one, I forgot what it was for. But, so the people, when I went there, I saw a lot of family. I had a lot of family over there. But it was not just family, they would always take me to their friend's house. Everywhere I went, every home that I went into, everybody treated you like you were a part of their family. They would always, if you went there just to visit during the afternoon, or to stop by, they would always ask, do you want to stay over for dinner? They would offer you, like, if you needed a bed to stay, it was just the warmth and the human interaction, being able to, like, see people. At that time, I didn't suffer from anxiety like I do now. So I was actually, and also because I'm from there too, so it's like, like if you're, a lot of people say people, like, all black people look alike, or all white people look alike, all Colombians look alike. It's pretty much true, because we're really not that far different from one another. But nonetheless, having that feeling of, that these people were so kind. I mean, not only were they kind, but they were also, like how I say, like, you could be spiritually rich. I really felt that they were spiritually rich as well. They were joyful, they were happy, and keep in mind, they don't have a lot of things. And when I saw that, I said to myself, I'm like, wow, that's interesting. One of the most interesting things was this gentleman I met who was, like, literally homeless. He slept on the park benches, and I always knew how to find him, because he would always cover his face with, like, a cardboard piece of paper when he went to sleep. So I always knew that was him, the one who covered his face. And then in the mornings, even though he was homeless, he would try to maintain his upkeep, so he would look pretty well. He also knew the word, like, he was pretty well versed in the word of the Bible, and he could sit there and tell you, verses from different chapters, and and like ask you questions, and hold a conversation with you. So I found him very intriguing, and I just befriended him. I befriended somebody that was homeless. I would hang out with them, and I would, back then I was, like I said, I was younger, and I spent money on food. I used to go to the gym a lot. At one point, I think I got up to like 196, and it was funny. Everybody used to call me, "Oh, tú eres el guardaespaldas de este señor ahora," like I'm his bodyguard, because be able to actually go out and walk out at night, which is not recommended because it's still, even though it's a beautiful place, it's still like a city like New York, like, so, it's a big population, and the more people there are, it's just going to be natural, there's going to be more crime, and also not just that, but some of the main cities are spread apart, and there's a lot of space in between them, and they don't have enough budget to police all those areas. So for instance, one night I had gotten upset over whatever reason, and I wanted to go from Barranquilla to Cartagena. I had rented a car for that visit. And is it urgent? It just says if it's urgent. Okay, let me see. Okay, that's a need. That's a want. Alright, so, yeah. When I got to the last checkpoint, when I was driving, they checked for my ID. The guy who rented me the car, he told me, he's like, "Look, if the cops ever tell you this, or this, tell them, no, 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 no. I'm going to call the person who rented me the car. I'll get it eventually. I was just asked to do a favor for something that is essentially not, it's a want, so I'm not going to stop recording. But I am going to cut it short soon because this is getting too long. And when I got to the last police stop, because they have to check, like, police check stations, they try to tell me a couple things, like, this and that. Like, they were trying to find reasons to, like, give me a citation. And I was not doing anything wrong whatsoever. So I said, nope, I'm going to call the guy who lent me the card, who let me rent the car. He instructed me to do that, just in case you guys did this. As soon as they heard that, they said, okay, look, you're free to go. But let us just warn you that from here to where you want to go, there's no official police. So if there's any like cartels or any there's I forget what the name of it is now, but and they want to kidnap you, or they want to do whatever they want to do with you. There's nobody that can be out there to help you. So that's essentially their territory. So it's a very interesting place too at the same time. But like I always say, anywhere that you travel to, first off, if it's somewhere that you're not from, try to befriend somebody beforehand, like the way you get to know them, maybe, I don't know, I'm sure other people have better travel tips, because I've only been to Colombia, Florida, and Georgia, okay, I've never been anywhere, so, and at this point, I don't even want to. My sisters have gone to a lot of places, so if I want to, I could just listen to them to see how it went. Mom and Dad, they went to Europe a couple times, and every single time they're in Europe, it's like I'm in Europe, because, I just see the pictures they send me, I talk to them, I ask them everything, so just as good. A buddy of mine too, when he went to Italy, I asked him questions, everything, so, I can stay within, and allegedly, I'm not gonna get into that now, but that's something that was said in the Mike Rogan show, and it was something that he heard from Alex Jones, and allegedly one of the things he heard from Alex Jones actually did come true. But yeah, no, a lot of things are going to change, and like I said, I open myself up a lot to this YouTube channel because people say, "Oh, privacy, privacy, privacy." You guys, how long was it? 11 years ago that Edward Norton, or whatever his name was, came out and opened up about the NSA. Was it in 2012 or was it in 2009? I don't remember. And then he had to go seek asylum in Russia. That stuff is true. And even though we say, oh, the China, they got these facial recognition cameras that can see people, and they have an estate where Big Brother's always watching you. Yeah, they do, but you know something? Here in the United States, we have more cameras per capita than they do in China. So in other words, we have more cameras than they do, in the sense that even we might have 350 million people, but we have like 100 million cameras. They have like 1.4 billion people, but they have, what did I say, 100 million for 350 million? They have 1.4 billion, but they only have, let's say, maybe 500 million cameras. So we have like, a lot more cameras than they do. Those are just things that, you gotta pay attention. That's what I always tell everybody that watches this channel. Nothing to see here. I'm just yapping my mouth. So yeah, I fell in love with Colombia. Changed my outlook on life. Essentially, it just changed my values. It changed who I was, like, completely. One of the things, like, before I went back, after the first vacation, the reason why I went back, I was working my second job, which included a lot of driving. I was waiting to go underneath the I-95 bridge for the light to change, and I was looking at the architecture of the bridge, and I was just in awe, because you don't see a lot of those over there. There's not like there's not a lot of highways over there, and I don't think they use asphalt. I think they use actual cement on the road, so it doesn't get fixed that often. Like in Barranquilla, they say Barranquilla has more holes than, or has bigger. It's like a dirty joke about how she has holes all over the place, or like big holes. I don't remember, because there are two ways to build roads: using cement or using asphalt. Asphalt is convenient because you can always, resurface it easily. You can do it overnight. But concrete, technically, is supposed to last longer, and I think that's what they use in Europe. They use concrete mostly, unless some countries start adopting using asphalt. Maybe depending on the where places or whatever. But yeah, so I was in the car. I was listening to I probably had like a iPad at that time or something. I don't remember. But then a Bob Marley song came on, and when that Bob Marley song came on, I started crying. And I said to myself, I'm like, what am I doing working all these hours? Yeah, I make all this money, but what am I doing with myself? Like, am I really happy with what I'm doing, with who I am? And that's when I said, I'm like, I kind of want to go back to Colombia. I had a good time when I was there. Let me go back and just spend some more time. See my grandma, who sadly passed away April 15th, 2001. She was just like 8 months shy of her 100th birthday, and she raised me, her and my aunt. So that's another thing. Like, when I would go back there, I would get that feeling of nostalgia, of just being back together with you know, like I had that feeling like I was a child again too, you know. So that's another thing that I couldn't put a price on. And but the situation is hard over there. But nonetheless, how I have a bike here, but I can only go certain much. Over there with the bike, I went like I literally could walk from the downtown part of the city to the edge of the city in like 30 minutes. You know, so it was completely different. It was just, you know, because the cars are a scam. And I'll tell you why. They're a scam because the state says that driving is not a right. It's not a right for you to use these roads. It's a privilege. Okay? So they can take it away from you at any time. That's important. When you buy a car, if you have a car and you know, most of your friends don't, you're gonna be constantly getting nagged for a ride, you know, and if they say, yeah, we'll give you gas money, but they don't know how much tires cost. They don't know how much an oil, you know, oil change costs. Even if you do it yourself, it still costs a bit of money. And not just that, but your time and your effort. They don't know how much it costs to change a is it a carburetor, like the thing in front, the coolant. Yeah, I think it's a carburetor. They don't know how much it is to change a starter, the power windows locks, you know, all those things. I'm just naming things that or the rotors, disc pads, whatever, you know, those are all things that wear out, wear and tear, and then you gotta go out and drive into traffic, you know, to do something for somebody that, yeah, maybe they'll give you some gas money, but it takes up your time, which is one of the things that I mentioned. Every single human on earth, no matter whom you are, no matter how much money you have, how much influence you have, or how many people you know, or whatever, nobody, not a single soul can buy more time. Okay? That's one. Two is all of us, every single one of us, no matter how much money you have, no matter how many people you know, no matter how much time you spend on the screen or not on the screen, no matter how many adventures you go on, no matter how many cool pictures you take on your Instagram or whatever, everyone's going to die. And that's the facts of life. Now, some people might say, oh, I'm going to stay young forever. But let me be real with you. First of all, yeah, time is relative. So some people might say, oh, you know, yeah, today was, you know, essentially you're supposed to live for the day. You're supposed to be present and live in the moment. But life will pass by you in a blink of an eye before you know it. It really, really will. And would I move back to Colombia today? I do not know, because like I said, the people that I loved and cherished, I don't know that they're there anymore, but the people that I love and cherish now, they're right here with me right now. So I can't ask for anything else. I can't ask for anything more, you know. And once you find the things that you value, and they are things that, you know, your higher power, or as some people call it, or the Almighty, as some, you know, if there are things that are aligned with what it's supposed, with how it's supposed to be, those are things that you are blessed with, and you are going to realize that it was always there. You just have to ask. You have to ask humbly, thankfully, and I don't know what else. I'm just talking. I don't have a degree in theology, and but I make a lot of mistakes, plenty of them. There's there's times, and I probably there still do, that I make mistakes. No, I mean, there was times I used to make mistakes, and I'd say, oh, I'm not gonna do it again. Keep doing it, and keep doing it, and keep doing it. Just like that Outkast song from their double album. I think it wasn't on 3000. I think it was Big Boy that made the song. That CD is a classic. But yeah, so nonetheless, that was my experience because the person who left the comment was saying that she's doing well, and I said as long as you're doing well, you're at peace with yourself. That's all that matters. And the only reason I even mentioned of her was because I was responding to a comment that was left to the video by the person's by her mom's, and the comment that was left was kind of rude. So I did get angry. Okay, so I should probably take it down just on the basis that I was angry, and I probably will. But I told mom, I told him, like, look, if you don't like what I wrote, you can just delete your comment, and everything else will go away. All the replies, all the responses, Same thing with the person that I spoke about today. If you want to take your comment off, everything I respond to you will come off too. Feel free. I told just the other day, because before that I was saying, like, I still do want subscribers. I want to be able to live stream one day and maybe get AdSense, because that's not a bad thing to do. Essentially it's a way, if you are successful, to be able to create income that keeps generating itself while you really are. It just generates. It's almost like putting a large sum in the bank, and then every year you just live off of the interest. The money will make more money itself by being invested. That's the same thing with making videos. If you get to a certain point, whatever. That's why another comment was left. I think it was by the same person. How she was angry or upset. So I told her, I'm like, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I think that's what I said. Or I think I might say, I would say I'm sorry that I feel that way, but right now I'm going through a lot. But yesterday we did go through a lot in IRL. I mean, it's a lot. I was just sitting on the couch trying to watch TV, and then in less than like 30 seconds, minute at the most, probably like 30 seconds around, comes up, starts yelling at me. I'm getting yelled at, and this is like around 7 in the morning, like before 7. So I'm just getting yelled at. When I heard noise coming from out there, I said, you know what? Go get my queen some tea so she can take her meds. Because I've been asking her about them, because she says it's always other people that are the reason why she feels how she feels. Which I'm not an expert, but I believe that in recovery they always emphasize that we need to be responsible for our actions, and we need to not put anything on others, like when we do that, then we can start learning to grow as a person. So it wouldn't her saying like it's other people that are causing her not to be able to like grow and recover and get better. When that's kind of like putting blame on others, right? I mean, I'm not sure. Please comment if you know about that. Um, to be completely honest, I haven't been in a meeting in a little while. Um, I've been, the math has been working great, so I can't really complain. Um, Except I do want to change just a couple of things, like maybe take less of 2 meds to see if I can switch one to every 6 hours, because that's a medication that's designed for every 6 hours. And like I said, with what I go through in life, I need that medication because. And then another thing too, my queen. Like I told you before, if you do watch this, which I doubt, the reason why I don't want to fully commit is because I want us each to be well as individuals. And that's what I said in the comment yesterday about when the other person asked me, I don't know what my love life has to do with this. I said, if you are well with just by who you are, and just knowing that, you're good enough and you don't need anybody and you're happy on your own, that will improve the chances of you to be able to make somebody else happy. Because you already made yourself happy, so that means you have experience, you know what it's like to feel happy, you know the things that you have to do to feel happy, and then it's like a domino effect, Then in the relationships that you have, your chances of succeeding are way much better. And that's all I was saying. But unfortunately, that's not always the case because, families, sometimes it's just hard. This country, even though things might be easy, in a lot of metropolitan areas, or the expensive areas I should say, like Florida, New York, California, Chicago, etc., the prices, the cost of living is out of this world. And if you were not wise enough, like me, I was a fool, and you didn't get like a technical education, or you didn't get, at the very least an undergrad, but if you get a graduate, you're going to be way better off. I mean, yesterday the person sent me a message and said about how much money they make and they work 83 hours and they enjoy it. I know 2 other women who also enjoy what they do, but they work like 40 hours maybe, and they make way more. Let's do the math. 84, that would be 800, 1200 plus commission. That's about 2,000. That's about 100 grand a month. They make like 200 grand a month, and they work half the time as you. So, I mean, no offense, please. I'm just saying, if you're happy, don't listen to me, and hopefully you'll never watch this anyways, because look how long it's been right now. But what I'm saying is, that's what I said when I said you still have the potential to be, what you want to be. But if you enjoy what you're doing now, and also money is not everything either. If the money that you make is enough to, provide you with, that first of all you gotta think the necessities, a roof over your head, paying the bills, and things like that. As long as it covers that, vehicles, because we live in a car-centered society, unless you're gonna get moved right next to your job, but then you gotta make sure you stay at that job forever. Job security, which jobs change. That's another thing too. That's why, like for instance, I'll give you an example why education is so important. I know a person who has 2 undergrads, one in business administration and the other one in computer science. They're a computer programmer, and when they moved here from where they came, they were making whatever. This was years ago, like maybe 30 years ago. They were making like 100 grand a year, 120, 130, 140. You know, when 100 grand was actually a good amount of money. Now it's just, now 100 grand, now 120 grand is what you need just to, you know, live a comfortable life. So anyways, nonetheless, they figured out with the internet and the way it was progressing so fast, they can have people from India who have the same knowledge. And like I said, in India they all speak English. I said that in one of my other videos, but I don't think I posted it, or I may have. And they do the same job for a tenth of the price. So this individual no longer could work, because when computer programming, usually you learn coding, and most of the time there's different languages for different applications, for different hardware, and different operating systems, which of course go to different hardware and whatnot. So the language that this person had learned had almost become obsolete, but because of the fact that they had an education, they were able to get jobs that were able to still allow them to maintain their lifestyle. Nice, single family home where that they could buy cars, which those are, unfortunately, in most countries, like I said, in Colombia, those are luxuries. But here, you need a car, unfortunately. I don't have one, and I don't like to say it, because then she says, oh, why do you always have to bring the past? The only time I say to bring the past up is to learn from it. Right now, I'm not going to say it because there's really nothing to learn from it, but I did used to have a car one time, and I'm kind of happier now, because when I did used to have a car, everybody who does not have a car will call you or will come up to you and say, oh, can you take me here, can you take me there? And next thing you know, you're Uber. You might as well be an Uber. Alright, thank you for watching. Please try to be kind to one another, and may peace and love be with you. Voy a ver si de pronto hago un video en español, ya que hoy me demoré un ratico haciendo el diseño de esta producción. Bueno, yo no sé cómo se le dice en español. En inglés se llama set design, creo, o set designer. Entonces quizás pueda hacer otro video. Gracias por su vista, que paz y amor esté con usted. Assalamu alaikum, and I don't know any other language. Alright. Come on.